Alright guys, here we are again for our final playoff picks. We've got Super Bowl edition this weekend, a couple of games, well, 5 games actually, to go through. We're going to go one by one through the classes and we're going to see how we go here. So, 2 games Friday night. We're going to start off with the AA rematch, kind of the game that everybody for, I know, Shaker and Shen again. Now the first time around, Shaker pulled off the 35-8 upset over Shen, and it was probably one of the bigger victories in Shaker's program, let alone their season this year. Now, keep in mind, though, that it's an entirely different set of circumstances. They were at Shaker, a mud-filled pit of a field, and Shaker was really just kind of able to take advantage of that and really push the ball down Shen's throat. This time around, though, we're at Shen, a turf field, Shen's fans, and they're calling it a fluke up there the last time Shaker won. But, all that aside, I'm going to go with Shaker. Again, I think they've got all of the momentum riding into this. They're coming off a kind of controversial victory with a final play. Was it a touchdown? Was not a touchdown against Schenectady last week. And they're the ones who feel like they have something to prove still. And when you're playing with that kind of emotion, it can really just kind of propel you straight into the end zone. So I'm going to go with Shaker over Shen.
To borrow a line from the recently departed Beano Cook, 2 things you never bet against at home. One's a Notre Dame football team when it's the underdog, and the other's the Russian Army during the winter. And you could probably put the Shenandoah football team in that when they're at home for a Super Bowl. Brent Stewart-Walt's record up there when he was coaching the Playmen was impeccable in the big Class A title games. Brent isn't there anymore, but the program really hasn't skipped a beat. They're on top. They've won 8 or 9 games. But I think in Shaker's a team of destiny. You know, everybody wants to debate that call, whether Schenectady had the ball in the pylon. You know, whether you're a Shen or a Shaker fan or a Schenectady fan last week, you have opposite point of views. I'm just going to pick Shaker. I think they've been a little more consistent. Landers and Smith have played real well on the offense, and I think this is a team of destiny. They got a call maybe that went their way last week. They haven't won a Section 2 championship since 1969. So we'll say Shaker in a close one. My head says Shen, my heart says Shaker, the heart wins out.
All right, our second Friday night game here, the game I'm actually going to be at, Hoosick Falls and Chatham. Now, I talked to Coach Ron Jones on Wednesday, and I said I was really glad that this was the way everything panned out because by week 3, I had pretty much decided that this was the game I wanted to happen. So thank you to all the football gods and the powers that be that made my wishes come true, because we've got 2 undefeated teams here, some really, really strong offensive players and some really, really strong defensive players, and it's going to be a battle. For the first time, really, for Hoosick Falls, and I'd really just like to see their starters play all 4 quarters, the entire game. And honestly, I think that's really good for them, because once you get out of Section 2, you're playing champions, and you're going to have to be able to play all 4 quarters. So, knock on wood, if Hoosick Falls does make it out on Friday night, it's going to be good to be able to have some of that experience under their belts. That being said, I can't pick against Hoosick Falls. Brad Burns hurdled people last weekend, literally jumped over them on the field. And I was sitting in the press box and I couldn't help but laugh, because some of the things that they put together and some of the plays that they do, step up to the line of scrimmage for the first offensive play and they throw a 64-yard touchdown. It's absurd. So I'm going to pick Hoosick Falls indefinitely.
Yeah, I'm impressed with the way Chatham's built this program in the past decade. I mean, they've built from literally the bottom up. They haven't skipped a beat in the past couple of years. They're unbeaten again this year. I know they have a lot of motivation for tonight's game. I believe they lost to Hoosick Falls in the final last year by a field goal in overtime. And the way they've played this year is, well, nobody's beaten them. But I think I'm also going to pick Hoosick Falls also. They just seem to be a little bigger, a little stronger, more experienced. And I think they'll win by more than a field goal this year without an overtime. So I'm going to say Hoosick Falls.
All right, move on to Saturday and our first scheduled game of the afternoon. And again, the game I'm going to be at. We got Rensselaer and Salem up at Schuylerville. Now, Rensselaer took my Whitehall upset pick and threw it out the window last week. Kind of just obliterated them, 54-28. Seth Butler has 140 yards and 3 touchdowns, and you don't even have your starting quarterback playing. Steve Hartward's going to be back in the game this week. His ankle's going to be taped up. If he rolls it, they've got a backup, an experienced backup now. But for the time being, they've got a quarterback, they've got a running back, they're set. Salem, I'm so impressed with Salem. Holding off on a goal line stand against Matt Parmenter, who has really just run over everyone in Class D this season. Stop the 2-point conversion attempt and walk off the field with a 27-26 victory over Cambridge last week. Get to their Super Bowl. Now keep in mind, this is a team that didn't win a game in 2010, and they just hold their own against Cambridge. As much as I want to pick Salem as my upset and continue all of this wonderful emotion, I have to go with Rensselaer. They're a team that's been here for, this will be their 5th straight Super Bowl appearance. They've, been the bridesmaid, never the bride the last couple of years, but I think for the first year since 2009, this is a really good chance for the Rams to pull off a Class D Super Bowl win.
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean that way too. I mean, Salem may have had the biggest upset of the year last week. I'm sure they're going to get back, play well again this week. I'm going to just go with Rensselaer. All year long, they wanted a chance to get back. I know they wanted Cambridge in the final game because Cambridge ended their season their past couple of seasons, excuse me. When this one's over, I think we put another Section 2 plaque in the Preston family trophy case. Norm, the father, won a couple back in the 90s, and I think we're going to add another one to the family. I think Joel will win one this weekend.
All right, now 3 p.m. here in the Class B Super Bowls at Shen. We've got Shalmont and Glens Falls. Now, the first time around, week 1, Shalmont cruised to a 41-16 victory. Devon Willis had 352 rushing yards. 352 rushing yards. And it's the first game that Glens Falls played when they moved down to Class B this year. And I think since then, they've kind of been like, all right, well, we've got that behind us, and now we're just going to go beat everybody else. Shalmont, too, has just beaten everybody else, and Devon Willis is just something else. You look at that kid's stats, and it's consistently over 100 and 180 yards, up into the 200s and 300s. Like, it's just a normal thing to run up and down the football field for 300 yards. That being said, I think it's going to be tough for me to pick again against Devon Willis. And unlike last year, I don't think we're going to have a little bit of controversy that Shalmont had. I think they're going to pull this one out pretty cleanly.
This is going to be my upset of the week. I'll say Glens Falls. They've improved since that first win. They seem to have gotten better every week. They'll be maybe, I don't want to say used to, but they know what they're expecting against Devon Willis and the speed. Look for them to stack the box quite a bit and make him run against 8 or 9 bodies all night long. If he can hit a couple passes, open up the defense, and I'm sure Shalmont will get the offense in gear. But I'm going to pick the upset and say Glens Falls.
All right, our final game of the Section 2 Super Bowl weekend, Saturday night, 7 o'clock at Shen. We've got the Class A matchup, again, Burnt Hills and Amsterdam. Now, Amsterdam was down 14-0 midway through the first quarter against Troy. And then, second quarter starts, Brett Stanovich comes back in. The running back had been kind of mussed up on one of the opening drives against Troy on defense, sits out for the first quarter, comes back in, and just wrecks Troy. He rushed all over the field, had an insanely open touchdown reception where it looked like he was on a completely different field from Troy. He was so wide open. And Amsterdam ends up pulling off the 40-21 victory over Troy after being down 14-0 after the first quarter. That offense just came together. They put some things together. They executed, and they were not really even fazed by anything that Troy was doing. So, going up again against Burnt Hills this week, Amsterdam's got their work cut out for them. Burnt Hills has just been kind of rolling everybody this season. Take away that first week loss from Troy, and they really looked like a team that once again deserves to get to the Dome. 36-20 victory over Queensberry last week, and we're back for another Class A rematch here. I'm going to go with the tried and true Burnt Hills.
Yeah, it's tough to pick against them. Like I said, they lost to Troy in week 1, and since that time they have improved every week. I know Troy stuffed the box a little bit, put 6 defensive linemen up front, kind of confused them. But since then, nobody's been able to slow them down. I think Burnt Hills has scored more than 60 points 3 or 4 times this season. They can score from anywhere on the field. Matt Shell's done an incredible job since he took over that program. Probably the most consistent program joining Hoosick Falls in the past decade. I just think Burnt Hills will probably be playing in Deet Stadium in a couple of weeks, and very likely the Carrier Dome, like Laura said. So we only disagree on one game this week.
All right, so that's it, folks. Come Saturday at approximately 9:30 at night, we'll be done with Section 2 football this season. So stay warm. It's supposed to be like 2 degrees out. Not really, but that's what it'll feel like.
Oh.
And follow along on Twitter, on the website. We'll have all the tweets coming in. We'll be at the majority of the games. So good luck to everyone.
Good luck.